The translation of the novel How Steel Was Tempered into Japanese was made in 1936 by Japanese theater director Reikichi Sugimoto, who later, in 1938, together with his wife Yoshiko Okada, fled from Japan to the USSR, where he was shot as a foreign spy. Coronation of the Emperor of the Central African Republic of Bokassa. She left a third of the budget of the car, and among the treats was the meat of his political opponents. In 1384, Jadwiga, the 11-year-old daughter of King Louis I of England, was proclaimed King of Poland. By law, Poland could only be ruled by the king, but the law did not say that only a man could be a king. Ron Howard, Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, Brian De Palma, George Lucas, Robert Zemeckis, and Francis Ford Coppola on the 50th anniversary of George Lucas. USA, 1994. To marry Anne Boleyn, King Henry VIII of England had to divorce Catherine of Aragon, but the Pope did not allow it. Then the king submitted to Parliament the Act on the Restriction of Appeals. This act forbade all appeals to the Pope, proclaimed the English kingdom an empire, and the emperor was given absolute authority. Another act a year later made Henry VIII the highest chapter of the Church of England, essentially marking the beginning of its separation from Catholicism. Subsequently, England established its own form of Christianity, endowed with both Catholic and Reformed Protestant attributes. Once upon a time, gangster Clyde Barrow, Bonnie Parker's friend, wrote a letter to Henry Ford, in which he expressed admiration for the V8 model and promised to steal only Forder. Ford immediately made a letter public and made a grandiose advertisement for himself. On April 1st, 1915, in the midst of the First World War, a French plane appeared over the German camp and dropped a huge bomb. The soldiers rushed, scattered, but the explosion did not wait. Instead of a bomb, a big ball landed with the inscription, "Since the 1st of April." Matt Groening, creator of The Simpsons and Futurama, USA, 1990. Are you afraid that after watching The Simpsons, our children will be like Bart Simpson? So that your children are not like Bart Simpson, it is necessary that their fathers are not like Homer Simpson. Interview with Matt Groening. An abandoned fortress near the biblical city. The Old Testament book of Judges of Israel speaks of Man, the capital of the Maonians, the people who were defeated by the king of Judea Uzziah. Today this city is located in the south of Jordan. For centuries it stands among the sand and the wind, storing untold stories of the past. Girls, teenage members of the Nazi organization League of German Girls, participants of the German Youth Congress in Nuremberg in 1936. Photo of the last Berberi lion who lived at large. He was shot dead in the Moroccan part of the Atlas Mountains in 1922. Today is extinct in the wild. In the Roman army, soldiers lived in tents of 10 people. At the head of each tent was the eldest, who was called the dean. Electric car I.V. Romanov at the Gachina Palace. In 1899, engineer Hippolytus Romanov built and demonstrated in St. Petersburg the first Russian electric car designed to carry 2 passengers. Crystal Dagger is more than 4,500 years old. It was found in the Bronze Age tomb in the Spanish municipality of Valencine de la Concepción. Martial law in Poland after the strikes and battles with the local riot police, and the poster of the film Apocalypse Today, December 1981. In the film Back to the Future, 1985, on the badge that Marty wears on a denim jacket, it says, "Art in the Revolution." This is an exhibition of Soviet art and design, which was held at the London Gallery Hayward from February to April 1971. In 2003, the American metal band Metallica came to San Quentin to arrange a free concert for prisoners there, as well as make them a donation of $10,000 for the construction of a baseball court. 3 Kennedy brothers who turned into a powerful political triumvirate. 1962. John became president, Robert is the Minister of Justice, and Edward is a senator German propaganda poster, every shot for a Russian, every blow for a Frenchman, every kick for a British man, every slap for a Japanese. 1914. In the Valley of Temples in Sicily. This is the ancient Greek Temple of Concord, built in 430 BC, not far from the city of Agrigento. Along with the Athenian Parthenon, it is considered the best preserved Doric temple in the world. British artilleryman, Kent, United Kingdom, 1940. The air alarm caught the troupe of an amateur theatre right during the rehearsal. There was no change of time. Long before the invention of a lie detector, many peoples of the world have invented their own ways of determining the truthfulness of a person. For example, the Arab Bedouins demanded that the interrogated person touch the tongue to a hot blade. If the suspect received a burn from a blade, then before that he had dried up in his mouth, which testified to his guilt. Quentin Tarantino, special effects specialist Thomas Bellissimo and George Clooney on the set of The Films from the Dawn to Dawn. USA, 1995, the youth trend of the 1950s in the United States. If a girl wears a dog strap on the left ankle, she has a boyfriend, but on the right one, she's in search. Everyone knows that Hitler loved to draw, and even in his youth tried to become an artist. In 2008, his sketches were found previously unknown, shedding additional light on the perverted consciousness of this person. On the sketches immortalized two characters from Snow White, Clever and Modrel, plus an unsigned drawing with Pinocchio. Bobby Fischer, who many consider the greatest chess player of all time, 2 weeks before he became world champion, 1972. He resigned 3 years later and lost his title at the age of 32. The World Chess Federation offered Fischer $3.5 million, $21 million today, as prize money for returning and defending his title, but he refused. Festivities in honor of the victory over France and the unification of Germany, with the participation of Kaiser Wilhelm I and Chancellor Bismarck. 1871, 4 monarchs, 31 presidents, 6 princes, 22 prime ministers, and 47 foreign ministers at the funeral of Josip Broz Tito, Yugoslavia, May 1980. Einstein liked to play the violin and once took part in a charity concert in Germany. Admired by his game, the local journalist learned the name of the artist, and the next day published in the newspaper an article about the performance of the great musician, incomparable virtuoso Cyprusher, Albert Einstein. He kept this note to himself and proudly showed it to friends, saying that he was actually a famous violinist, not a scientist. At the age of 22, Quentin Tarantino was still unfamiliar for a job in the video archive, a video rental point at the Redondo Beach in California, which then turned into a large center of the Riviera Taxidio video rental. At this center, Tarantino met Roger Avery, who later became a screenwriter of Mad Dogs and Private Past. They spent all the days together discussing movies and recommending them to customers. Quentin himself calls the work in the video archive the best job of all that he received until he became a director. Widely known legend about the medieval Swiss archer Wilhelm Tell, who for disobedience to the German governor was forced to shoot in an apple on the head of his own son, and Tell did not miss. Inspired by this story, the American writer William Burroughs at one of the parties wanted to surprise guests. He put a glass on his head, Joan Walmer, and shot a gun. From hitting the head, his wife died. Taxes in ancient Rome were based on the maintenance of the regular army and the imperial guard. Every free citizen of the Roman Empire was obliged to pay taxes. Most of these citizens were landowners tied to their land, and they had nowhere to go. But slaves by law did not need to pay taxes, so that small landowners simply sold themselves into slavery, and this is how they avoided tax service. In the end, this practice became so popular that the Emperor Valent was forced to issue a decree on the illegality of the sale of himself into slavery. Giant crosses formed by lights in the windows of the New York skyscrapers, as a decoration for Easter in the financial quarter of Manhattan. 1956, Uma Thurman's mother, American model of Swedish origin, Baroness Nena von Schlebrueg. 1958, Al Pacino in the movie Scarecrow. To get used to the image of his character, he pretended to be a vagabond and hitch-hifted. California, 1973, Soviet dog cosmoscope Laika in a capsule that will soon be launched on Sputnik 2. Baikonur Cosmodrome, November 3rd, 1957. Police pictures of 27-year-old John Vojtovich, sentenced to 20 years in prison for robbing a bank for which he decided to pay for sex change surgery for his lover. 1972, Salvador Dali often resorted to a bed with a key in his hand. Sitting on a chair, he fell asleep with a heavy key clamped between his fingers. Gradually, the grip weakened, the key fell and hit the plate lying on the floor. The thoughts that arose during the nap could be new ideas or solutions to complex problems. Josie Bartel, the only Luxembourg Olympic champion. Helsinki, 1952. In 1952, in Helsinki, Jose Bartel took first place in the 1,500 meters, setting an Olympic record. The success of the athlete was a complete surprise for the organizers. When it was time to honor the winners, it turned out that there was no recording of the Luxembourg anthem, and the orchestra improvised. Bartel on the pedestal cried, but not from the joy of victory, but from resentment for his small country. The committee hastened to apologize and humble the situation. Luxembourg no longer won gold medals at the Olympics. The main stadium of the homeland of Bartel was named in his honor. During the Second World War, Jacques-Yves Cousteau served as a machine gunner in artillery, and at the end of the war was awarded the Order of the Legion of Honor for his active participation in the anti-fascist Gerugs. Bran Castle, better known as the Castle of the Count Dracula, in which, according to legend, the famous voivode Vlad III Tzepes slept on the night during his campaigns. Romania, 1929. In the photo, Joseph Jugashvili, after the robbery of the Treasury's carriage, when transporting money from mail to the Tiflis branch of the State Bank in 1907, Sean Connery twice gave his word that he would no longer take on the role of Agent 007, and twice violated it, while the last James Bond film starred was called Never Say Ever Never. Charlie Chaplin during the filming of his first feature film, Baby, with Jackie Coogan, one of the first children's actors in the history of cinema. United States, 1921. The handshake of Yuri Gagarin and the astronauts Gemini 4, James McDivitt and Edward White. Paris, 1965. Edward White was the first American astronaut to go into outer space 3 months after Alexei Leonov. A woman sells oranges before the Colosseum in Rome. The large brick structure behind it is what remained of the Meta Sudans, a monumental fountain which, as the legend says, gladiators whirred after the battle. Initially, it was 17 meters tall and was lined with marble. Deportation of the Jewish family London, March 31st, 1939. In late March to early April, the British police deported Jews who left Czechoslovakia after its occupation of Hitlerite Germany. They were denied residence in the country because of misappropriation documents. In total, during Hitler's arrival in power, Britain refused to enter prison costs 500,000 Jews. The photo was later called Death Deportation. The ring was used by the KGB for spy purposes and for discreet photography. The camera uses the film around the finger and has a high-definition lens. Makeup artist Stuart Freeborn created images of all the characters of the original trilogy, Star Wars. To simulate the maul of Master Yoda, Freeborn crossed 2 faces. Taking his appearance as a basis, he added to it the characteristic wrinkles of Albert Einstein. 1967. The last official duel in France. The swords were attended by the mayor of Marseille, Gaston Deffer. Face to us, and the presidential candidate from the Socialist Party, René Ribière. The reason for the duel was the replica of Deffer during the performance of Ribière. Taisez-vous, abruti. Shut up, dummy. Deffer refused to apologize, and then Ribière summoned him to a duel. The first self-service gas station in the United States. Due to the lack of refuelers, gasoline became cheaper by 5 cents per gallon. Los Angeles, 1948. Man restores runic stone. Sweden, 1936. Most of the stones date back to the 11th century. Toll and Thorney made these monuments in memory of the Torah and Clack, their sons. Young bodybuilder Sean Connery, United Kingdom, early 1950s. Before he seriously engaged in the acting craft, Sean Connery managed to work as a threshing machine, a coffin polisher, a babysitter, a rescuer in the pool, a model for artists, and served in the fleet. And from the age of 18 he was fond of bodybuilding. Jacqueline Kennedy, in a suit with dirty blood, watches Lyndon Johnson sworn in taking office. A few hours ago, she witnessed the murder of her husband, John F. Kennedy, USA, 1963. Brunette boycotts of the film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, USA, 1953. Inscriptions on the posters. We have everything that blondes have. It's unfair to brunettes and redheads. Author the film. Gentlemen prefer blondes. When the future King of France Louis XVI was still a child, a personal astrologer warned him that the 21 number of each month is his unlucky day. The king never planned anything important on the 21st. However, not everything depended on the king. On June 21st, 1791, the king and queen were arrested while attempting to leave revolutionary France. In the same year, September 21st, France proclaimed itself a republic, and in 1793, on January 21st, King Louis XVI was beheaded by a guillotine. This is the last birthday of Marilyn, and was also the last day on the set of the film Something Must Happen. June 1st, 1962. Photographer's skill. Nuremberg, Germany, 1935. Given that in those years the SS did not take candidates below 184 centimeters tall, Hitler looks like a 2-meter giant in the photo. The 23-year-old man who defected from the communists to the side of the government of South Vietnam was captured by Viet Cong and spent a month in a concentration camp where he was deliberately starved. Actress Kim Delaney, who played Detective Diane Russell in the series New York Police from 1995 to 2003. In 1996, she won an Emmy Award for Best Supporting Actress in a drama series. Female Croats show their traditional tattoos. These pagan patterns were worn by the Balkan Slavs in order to avoid forced conversion to Islam. Quentin Tarantino and the actors of the film Inglourious Bastards, Germany, 2009. Austrian Christopher Waltz made an attempt to conquer Hollywood. Already being a popular actor at home, the agent convinced the actor that there he will be destined to play the Nazis for the rest of his life. The first American role of Valls in Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards, Jewish Hunter by Standartenführer Hans Land, earned him the Cannes Festival, the British Film Academy, Golden Globe, and the Oscar. A woman is trying through the window of a house that is in the eastern sector of Berlin to descend into the street of the western sector. The window shows the employees of the East German Special Services who are trying to drag it back to socialism. 1960. A sarcophagus for fish found in the ancient Egyptian city of Amim, which exists to this day. Inside, the sarcophagus preserved fish mummy. Exhibits of the British Museum. Christmas card from a British soldier. German East Africa, 1916. Christmas congratulations. I'm sending you this piece of military uniform khaki. The times are hard, but when they get better, I'll send you a better card. The German poet Friedrich Schiller could be tuned in to the creative way only if there was a plate with rotten apples on the table in his office. His friend, poet and philosopher Johann Wolfgang Goethe, said that there was always a plate with rotten apples in Schiller's office. Schiller assured that it was their smell that helped him to concentrate and enter into a creative state. During the anti-war rally, Forrest Gump began to speak, but he was turned off the microphone and no one heard it. If you believe Tom Hanks, then Forrest said, "Sometimes when people go to Vietnam, they return home to their mothers without legs. Sometimes they don't come back at all. It's bad. That's all I wanted to say about Vietnam." The giant sculpture of Ramses II, hidden by the sand, which climbed the assistant photographer to make the size they understand. Such a world saw the ancient temple of Pharaoh after thousands of years of oblivion. The author of the photo is the pioneer of French photography, Maxime Ducan. March 29th, 1850. Collector of toy soldiers, English Baron Charles Greenough, who gathered one of the largest collections of soldiers in the world, 1940s. Post-apocalyptic wedding. Students protest against environmental pollution, USSR, 1989. Queen Elizabeth II personally tests the L-85 assault rifle. Photographs from declassified military archives of England, 1993. Konosuke Matsushita, founder of the Matsushita Electric Industrial Company, later Panasonic, surrounded by all the products that his company produced in 1962. German prisoners of war after reading in the barracks of the camp at Camp Blanding in Florida, June 1943. This photo is used on the cover of Hitler's Soldiers in the Sunshine State, German POWs in Florida. In total, 378,000 people were held in the United States, in the US, captured in Africa, Italy, and France. On the territory of Florida, there were 25 camps in which contained about 10,000 German prisoners of war. The main task of these camps was to solve the problem of shortage of workers in agriculture during the war period. The book mentions Camp Cleviston, which is called the worst place in all of America. Prisoners of the camps were collecting reeds at a very high temperature in an area rich in poisonous snakes. Susan Sarandon on the balcony of the Martinez Hotel during the Cannes Film Festival in May 1995. At that time, she presented the film Dead Man Walking, for which she later won an Oscar for Best Actress. Flight Lieutenant Christopher Lee, after the liberation of Rome, the Vatican, 1944. Christopher Lee, before his acting career began, he went through the Second World War and did not like to talk about this period of life. During the filming of The Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson tried to explain to the performer of the role of Saruman how a man who was hit in the back should sound like a dagger. To this, Lee replied grimly, "Believe me, I know what sounds the man who was killed with a stab in the back." Fashion designer Pierre Cardin poses with models in his futuristic vision of the uniforms for nurses in Paris, France, 1970s. Women are photographed against the backdrop of a fire caused by an earthquake. San Francisco, State of California, April 18th, 1906. Eddie Murphy, John Lithgow, voiced by Lord Farquaad, Cameron Diaz and Mike Myers at the premiere of Shrek. 2001, Adolf Hitler reads the newspaper in Landsberg, where Hitler was after a failed beer coup. 1924. The old Japanese engraving, "Woman cuts off the hem on milk in order not to wake the cat." Respect for someone else's life is something to learn all your life. The last meeting of the Big Three, Stalin, Truman and Churchill at the Potsdam Conference. Germany, 1945. The famous Jamaican reggae musician Bob Marley bequeathed, put in his posthumous crypt guitar Les Paul, a football, a Bible, and a doll of marijuana. Initially, the term bazooka was called a musical wind instrument, similar to a trombone. During the Second World War, the American Army received an anti-tank grenade launcher M9, which, due to external similarity with the same tool, and according to another version, due to its sound, The whistle of the departing projectile was also called a base. Feed Titanic for walking passengers of Class 3. During a short stop at Queenstown, Ireland, 1912. Survivors and shocked Hiroshima gather on the street 10 minutes after the atomic explosion, 1945. A significant part of the city was destroyed. About 70,000 people died from the explosion. About 60,000 died from radiation sickness, burns and wounds. Drawn by the Japanese B-29 near the airfield in China, March 1945. The aircraft was depicted on a scale at which it would seem that it is flying at some distance from the ground. One engine was painted by burning. The Japanese hoped that the Allied pilots would decline to look at the bait and get under the fire of anti-aircraft artillery. Self-portrait of Vincent van Gogh with an intertwined ear and tube, 1889. A year before the painting, as a result of mental injuries and quarrels with a friend, the artist cut off his earlobe. Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini during a visit to the captured Brest fortress. The summer of 1941. A photograph of Freddy Overstegen, a Dutch girl who helped kill dozens of Nazi soldiers. Together with his girlfriend, Hanny and sister Truce girls worked with a team of Dutch resistance. They lured men into the forest where they were promised a kiss. As soon as they got to a remote place, the men received a bullet in the head.